Let's talk about how you can use these 5 habits that I'm going to share with you to avoid burnout as a small business owner. Let's start with what happens when burnout interferes with your ability to run your business smoothly, though. What's happening is as we go throughout our days, we don't take the time to slow down. And eventually we do start to feel some overwhelm. Not, a giant deal, can totally be attended to in the moment, but we're going to be having warning signs that are letting us know that this is coming up. When we don't attend to these warning signs, that is when we start to enter into that more serious state of burnout. And so I'm going to share the warning signs with you because it is important to know, have you gone into burnout? Are you approaching burnout? And by all means, at that point, give yourself the downtime. Give yourself whatever it is that you need to rest, to rejuvenate, and to rebound. So some of those things that you're going to want to look for. This is not an exhaustive list. And one more thing before I share some examples with you is that all of these things can be attributed to other elements, if you will. That said, it's important to notice what is going on so that you can determine, is it overwhelm, burnout? So how will you know if these specific things aren't another ailment? Well, you start paying attention to how have you been giving back to yourself? How have you been caring for yourself? If you start noticing that perhaps you haven't or not in the amount that is necessary, then it's a good chance that you're looking at burnout as the kind of the culprit here. So some of these things are going to be physical. So physical symptoms would include things like fatigue, headaches, digestive issues, stuff like that. Fatigue is a really big one. So they may also be emotional symptoms. So you may experience things like irritability, anxiety is a big one, something even a little more severe like depression, and then maybe even something like detachment. So not feeling the emotions behind the things that are going on around you that you normally would, things like that. Or, just noticing that they're there, but separating yourself from them. Things like behavioral changes, like difficulty concentrating, procrastination, even social withdrawal, things like that. These can all be warning signs that, hey, you need to start paying attention to your body, to your mind. Your body saying, hey, alert, there's something going on here. I need you to pay attention to me. We're going into overdrive here. I'm starting to experience burnout. And so when you're starting to notice these things, it is absolutely essential that you take the time to start to slow down and give back to yourself. I know we don't feel like we have the time so much these days. You need to make the time. That's the bottom line. And I say that with all the love and care and respect in the world, you have to make the time. If you don't make the time, your body is going to take away that choice for you and is going to put you on your back. So let's not get to that point. Now, at this point, what I would love to tell you is a lot of the things that I normally talk about. So put yourself first, make yourself a priority, schedule time for yourself, make self-care a non-negotiable. Embrace something like journaling, mindfulness meditations, physical activity. That's not bad advice. As a matter of fact, I kind of think those are really good pieces of advice. And the fact of the matter is, if it was that simple, you'd already be doing it. Sometimes what we need is just an entry point to get us there. And so not just a starting point that I'm going to share here with you. So these can be a starting point, but I'm going to share some practices with you that are sustainable. So there are things you can start with, but there are things that you can continue long term, whether you do full-blown workouts and mindfulness activities and journaling, things like that. These are all things that you can continue to carry with you. They're things that I carry with me that I do on a regular basis, and I attribute to the reason that my brain habitually goes to the thing I need it to go to in the moments that I need those things. And so that is the reality that awaits you when you start to make these things a habit. So without further ado, let me share some of these things with you. And again, this is a simple list. Let's just take a step towards the thing that we want, right? Not full-blown overwhelm. Oh my gosh, that's huge. I'm not going to do that. But little things that are totally achievable and easy enough to fit into your day and then to do throughout your day. So the first of those things is start your day on an uplifting thought. Why? Why? That sounds so trivial, Heather. Why? Why would I do that? So when you set the foundation for the day, it's not that you can't change the direction of your day. or the energy or focus of your day, it's easier to not have to. So we start on a positive note. So let's say, for example, let's just assume that you have an alarm that wakes you up each day. Something as simple as naming your alarm with a positive statement or an empowering statement, something that uplifts you. So when you hear that alarm go off, which most of us don't love to begin with, most people are not having an initial thought, wow, can't wait to start my day. I'm so excited to dive into this day. Now, if you are, I applaud you. But when that alarm goes off in the morning, if those aren't the thoughts that you're having, some way to kind of kickstart a thought like that is to remind yourself you've got a whole amazing day ahead of you. So naming your alarm an uplifting thought reminds you that that's the case. Now, let's just assume that that alarm goes off and you're super groggy and you're like, I am not reading my phone first thing in the morning when my alarm goes off. I'm not even going to notice what the title of that alarm is. That's fine. A second thing that's available to you is you go in, I'm assuming you go into a bathroom, you do your morning habits, your hygiene routines, things like that. So as you're at the sink, washing your hands, brushing your teeth, washing your face, whatever it is that you do in the morning, have that uplifting thought plastered on your mirror somehow. So you can write it directly onto your mirror, maybe in like a dry erase marker or something that suits you, something that won't cause any damage to your property. You could do something like a sticky note. That's easily removed when you're ready to remove it or change it out or, move on to a new thought. But having that there, and the key here is not getting so used to it being there that you start to ignore it, but making the intention of reading it and really enjoying the sensation that it brings to your body when you read that uplifting thing. The second thing that you can do is super simple. Hydrate immediately. So as soon as you're done with your morning hygiene practice, already have a cup of water available to you that you've filled the night before. So maybe you're heading directly to your office, maybe you're heading to your kitchen. I don't know where you're heading. You do. So have that cup of water there waiting for you and immediately hydrate. Okay. So simple, but profoundly impactful. So you supercharge your systems in the morning. You hydrate your brain, your systems, your organs, all of those things appreciate the hydration and they start kickstarting the things that they're going to do for you that day. Third thing is going to be make deep breathing your go-to. So when I say go-to for what? For everything. You notice that you've gone, an hour without deep breathing, do it just because it's a good idea. Now, I'm going to get into the why it's a good idea in a second, I promise you, but do it because it's a great idea. So you notice that you're feeling a little stressed, do deep breathing. You're starting to feel overwhelmed or frustrated with a conversation that you're having or a thing that's not going your way, do your deep breathing. What do I mean by deep breathing? So we naturally do shallow chest breaths. If you're not paying attention, and this is not a shameful thing, this is just how it works, you're going to go into shallow chest breaths. Now, if you're in a state of stress, that way of breathing tends to perpetuate that state of stress. And so what you want to do is make intentional moments throughout the day where you're doing deeper breathing. And so that is lowering. When you do the deep breathing, you're breathing into the belly. So you'll actually feel your belly expand. And when you do those deep breaths, you're minimizing that stress state. So your mind is calming down. Your body is starting to relax. You're getting the signal to your brain, there is no threat. I am perfectly safe and we can relax. And so when you are in that relaxed state, all of those stress hormones aren't flowing and wreaking havoc on your systems and your ability to think clearly and all of those things. So initially, is this going to be a natural go-to? If you've not been doing it, the answer to that is no, but it can be. So with any habit that you're creating, it starts with reminding yourself, being intentional about reminding yourself. So that might look like setting reminders throughout the day on your phone, something very simple. Once an hour, take some deep breaths for 1 minute. But not relying on your own memory. Have something to alert you that it's time to do these things. So eventually, when you do go into overwhelm, anxiety, frustration, your brain automatically goes, oh, I know how to attend. Now, these aren't the thoughts you're necessarily going to have, but this is what's happening. Your brain automatically goes, oh, I know how to attend to this. And you're going to have the thought, do some deep breathing. The fourth thing is very, very powerful, and it's to manage your thoughts. Now, what does that mean? So when you're managing your thoughts, you're choosing the thoughts that are coming to you. So the very first thought that comes to you, that's going to happen. Not a whole lot can be done about that thought. Might not serve you very well. And the fact of the matter is the thought happened and that's okay. The important thing is to choose the next thought and let it be a thought that better serves you. So there are a couple of key points to take away here. One of those things is if you're in a thought process of things that it's like a negative critic, inner critic, as I tend to call it, something that is saying not nice things about you in your own brain, you switch that to something that's more empowering. The other thing is, it doesn't even have to be necessarily a negative thing that you're saying about yourself, but the tendency can be to say what we don't want in life, right? I don't want to go into this meeting and embarrass myself. I don't want to go in and say something that's going to put the focus on me and whatever the case is, right? I don't want these things. So we find ourselves thinking, I don't want thoughts. What you can do is switch that to what you do want. What do you want in that moment? What do you want to happen? And so to get into the habit of going from what you don't want to what you do want and letting that be the thought that perpetuates. Managing your thoughts, that's what it looks like. Always choosing the thought that better serves the direction that you're wanting to head and that better serves your well-being. Right, so that's the fourth thing. Now, the fifth and final thing is to create a gratitude practice. Now, if you've seen some of my other videos, you may have heard me talk about gratitude journaling. So something you can do first thing in the morning, something you can do later in the evening before you go to bed. That's fine, but that's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is spur of the moment things happening and you expressing gratitude where you perhaps wouldn't normally because it's just not a habit of yours. So something as simple as maybe you're driving and you kind of see a light, a traffic light ahead of you, and you're noticing that it's green and you're thinking that light's going to be red by the time you get there. It's going to take more time to get to where you're going. And you get to that light and gratefully it's still green. And so you get to go on through. That is a moment where you can recognize that something good happened for you. Is it profound? No, but it is all the little tiny things that add up into our day that make a more positive way of being as profound as we want it to be. So you express gratitude as you notice that light was green. I am so grateful for that. Thank you for letting me continue on through without having to pause. Simple things like that throughout the day. Now, again, is this going to come naturally to you? Not necessarily, and that's fine. This is where we go back to leaning into our technology a bit, and you set a reminder on your phone all throughout the day, just reminding yourself to express gratitude for something you've experienced. So maybe, again, this goes off hourly or every other hour, and it's just a simple note like express gratitude or what are you grateful for right now? Choose one thing. It's that simple. But what happens is as you get into that habit, it becomes your norm and you will more naturally go to that without having to be alerted by your phone that it's time to do that. Now, when you are in a state of gratitude more frequently, it lifts your spirits, but it reminds you of all of the things that you do have that are good, that are powerful, that are positive, that are happening for you. So instead of being focused on how tough your day is, how things are never going right, all of these things, you're reminded on a regular basis of the things that do go right for you. And the beautiful thing is that compound effect that I mentioned. So all these little things adding up to the big scenario for you. Okay. And so those are the 5 things that I wanted to talk about with you today that you can do on a regular basis that I realize sound very simple. And that's the beauty of it. They are simple, but they are so very impactful. So start your day with an uplifting thought. Hydrate immediately. Make deep breathing your go-to throughout the day. Manage your thoughts. And then create a gratitude practice. And again, not like a journaling thing, but just all throughout the day, practice expressing gratitude for the little things that are happening for you. Alrighty. So now, what is the outcome of all of these things that I've talked about? So something like rejuvenating your mind and body all throughout the day. So when you get to the end of your day and you've been very productive, because that is another beautiful side effect of doing these things is increased productivity. When your brain is calmer, it can think more clearly, so you're able to do more in a shorter amount of time because it's not taking as long as it could be for that thought process to complete when you're in that state of stress. Or your brain is more creative, so you're allowed to flow, or you're able to rather flow more easily. And so you're super, super productive. You're getting a ton of things done. So when you get to the end of your day, are you tired? You probably are. that's a good thing. You have done all the things you wanted to do that day. Your body is probably tired at that point. Your brain has probably tired at that point. And that puts you in a state where you're ready for sleep. You don't have all of that energy still that needs to be used up. You don't have any of those thoughts bubbling under the surface of things that you didn't get done because you were too tired, because you were too, worn out, whatever the case. So you get to the end of your day and yes, you're tired, but you're rejuvenated because you've been productive, because you've given back to yourself throughout the day. That's another amazing benefit. Another one that I wanted to mention before we wrap up here is your relationships. So your relationships can and likely will highly improve when you are happier, healthier, your most optimum way of being. When you are in a state of well-being, your relationships thrive in a whole other level. You can create those stronger bonds with people that you want to, like your loved ones, like your clients and your customers. You can serve them from a place of more positive energy. You can be in that space with your family when you can be fully present with them and engaged because you have the energy to do so. With all of that said, I am really curious, what are the one or two things that I talked about today that really stood out to you as something that you're maybe a little bit jazzed about implementing into your own daily routine? Let me know in the comments and let's have a little bit of a conversation around this. I want to see what everybody has to say. And, if there are any kind of common denominators here and what are the favorites for some people. Now, that said, if you want to dig into some of my other self-care content, I have an entire playlist. And when I talk about self-care, friends, if you don't know by now, I talk about whole self-care. So the mind, body, spirit, all of the things. So if you want to dive into some more of that content, I'm going to drop that playlist here for you.